This makes the Boston Celtics even more terrifying, as after we just witnessed an avalanche ensue from 3-point range in the second half, failing from a lackluster shooting first half, the Boston Celtics have proven to their Eastern Conference opponents in the Orlando Magic and other teams across the league that they are even more deadly than they are coming out, and teams should be absolutely terrified of the performances that they can pull from 3-point range right out of a hat. Plus, we'll be diving into some depth players as well on this Celtics roster that have stepped up considerably in tonight's performance, that have really shown how unstoppable this team is, trying to go for that quest on repeating for a championship. We'll be diving into all of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez with my co-host Patrick Billings. And Patrick, what a nice game to see wrapped up here in the second half for the Boston Celtics tonight.
Yeah, I like how you said the second half because it was definitely a sweat in the first
Mm-hmm.
half. I really thought that my prediction was going to come into fruition with how it was looking, but a lot of things happened in that second half, man. And right in the beginning of that, right in the middle of that third quarter was about the time that they turned it on. And I'm happy they did because it was a huge win for them.
100%. And we're going to be diving into all of this and more. So, Patrick, let's get into all of this. As, like you said it put, let it fly. We saw the Boston Celtics team come out guns a-blazing in that second half from 3-point range, falling a little bit of a weird statistic for the Celtics squad. We saw them go 0 for 6 from 3-point range in the first half versus this Magic team, which was something that hadn't happened this season. And we saw from our boy Ian that it hadn't happened in the Celtics since 2021 in the beginning of October, which is just crazy sight to see. Some dog days for those Celtics teams. But if you look at this score, right, you see 120-89, you would think that the Celtics hit some threes in the first half. But no, Patrick, they went absolutely abysmal in that second half. Looking at that 3-point shooting, 13 for 24 from 3-point range. That means the Boston Celtics went 13 from 18 from 3-point range in the second half. That is just an absolutely crazy stat to see. And when the Mazzulla ball is cooking, it is truly cooking for the Celtics squad.
Yeah, I think he had to be the only person that was rooting for the Celtics that loved to see them not make a three-pointer in that first half. Just because he just loves to see them just struggle at points and kind of just deal with some pressure. So I think that he's really just the only person that truly enjoyed that. But I mean, the Celtics were able to turn it on in that second half, like you said. I mean, it looked a little bit scary in the first half, but man, just so live or die by the three. But they showed that they could stick in games by not just making three-pointers. And Joe Mazzulla had also made that a point as well. And it really did show because they were stuck in this game back and forth towards the end of that half, kind of letting up some deficits, getting in the double-digit range. But they were able to hit some threes finally and kind of stick to their Celtics basketball that they've been doing all season long, just breaking records from three and just starting to get comfortable again and really just feeling like they're the better team on the floor.
I really like that last sentiment from you, Patrick, where you say getting comfortable from 3-point range and finding their style of basketball, because we know that's what this Boston Celtics team can do. And that's what I think makes it more terrifying for some of these other teams in this Eastern Conference and on this quest for the Boston Celtics. We saw for the Orlando Magic, right, with this Celtics squad, if you want to look at the stats, everybody was pretty solid from 3-point range in that second half. We saw Al Horford making some shots, Sam Hauser, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and we'll get on to those guys in a little bit. But one thing that we saw with the Orlando Magic is they struggled from 3-point range. Not just for the Celtics limiting them from 3-point range, but with them not having those guys to really able match these shots for the Boston Celtics. And I think when you look at some of these other opponents, right, like the Knicks and the Pistons, they do have some lethal 3-point shooters. With the Celtics, though, with their physicality on the defensive side, they've been able to kind of squander the Orlando Magic's 3-point ability. And I think going up against some teams like the Knicks and the Pistons in their next matchup, they can do the same as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that really made me happy was that the Celtics were able to adjust in the second half defensively with the three-point line because the Magic were able to go downhill and constantly get guys into foul trouble and get a lot of and ones. And that's really what their offense is built around because they were the 30th ranked three-point
Mm-hmm.
team in the NBA, which, if you can't tell, it's not very good. So I mean, they finally forced some guys to shoot some threes. As we know, Franz Wagner, as our other guy, Patrick, on Orlando Magic Digest
Yep.
talked about it, that Franz Wagner starts to get a little bit of a hitch. So he's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit in his head, and definitely in those second halves too, when he knows they need some big buckets, you could really see it being playing into his game. And especially with Paolo getting into some foul trouble, he really felt like he needed to step up from the 3-point line. And they finally started letting him shoot him, We saw Jonathan Isaac in the corner, wide open three, felt so confident about it, air ball. So
Mhm.
it's like, why didn't the Celtics do this from the start? But they were playing some tough, hard nosed basketball, and the three pointers started to fall for them. They were starting to play how the Magic like to play, but then they started to get back to that basketball that the Celtics have been playing, and it was a really good second half, and I'm really happy it happened.
Exactly. And I think we should dive into some of those guys that really hit some key notes for the Boston Celtics from 3 point range. So, Patrick, the next thing we're going to be diving into is these absolute masterclass from this Boston Celtics. Like we mentioned, 4-1 series win. Absolutely great for the team. But when looking at some of these players that really stepped up for this squad through the ranks here, we saw Al Horford, right? We dropped a video on him, how he was doing things that you've never seen before, getting crazy Superman flying in blocks over in Orlando. And once again tonight, he hit some big time threes, one to end the third quarter on that 40-13 run, bounced off the rim and fell in, and you felt the garden just pop
Mhm.
through the TV. And as from these tweets from Finn Cool, someone that I know and follow on Twitter, obviously Al Horford considered among the playoff best performers ever, and I think we can both attest to that. And Grace G. Robs from Boston saying, Al Horford, you will go down in history as one of the most underrated since day one. And I think felt like both of those tweets really resonated how we both feel with Al Horford, but also how Celtics fans have felt with his performances this playoff series. In today's performance, Patrick, for the stats, we can see he obviously did start with Jrue Holiday out 4 for 5 from the field, 6 total rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block with a total of 9 points, a plus 28, clearly helping out on both sides.
Yeah, he should have had two more three pointers, but he stepped on the
Yes,
line. He
yes.
stepped on the line, so maybe the Celtics wouldn't have had any 0 3 pointers made in the first half. But you know what? Bucket when you could get them. And Al Horford is just constantly stepping up, especially with Jrue Holiday being out. I mean,
Mhm.
you're missing a key defender, especially on the outside. But Al Horford's able to stick in front of a lot of guys. We've talked about this in the past, how he's been able to stay in front of a lot of these guards as well, like Darius Garland being one of
Yep.
the best defenders up against him. So you got to gain some confidence with Al Horford, and especially with the playoffs. I mean, man, if you're a Celtics fan and you've been watching Celtics basketball and seeing what Al Horford does in the playoffs, I think you should feel more than comfortable about him guarding anybody on the floor because man, he's going to step up for you, and that's what he's done constantly this whole playoff series. He's going to do it ahead as well. I mean, two tough teams coming up. We don't know who's going to come out of that one, but I mean, you're going to need that fiery Al Horford once again, and we're going to see it. I don't know. I don't have to tell you that.
Oh, I know we're gonna see Al Horford come out, and I feel like the Magic kind of invoked that out of him. We saw the little scrappiness with Al Horford getting into it with him and KCP. That definitely brought some fun out of Al Horford. You mentioned that great stat with him on Darius Garland, where he's a great guards him great. We saw that in the semifinals last season. I hope if the Celtics do play them in the conference finals this year, we get to see Al Horford play that great defense. But this kind of like stay ready movement, not just from those deep bench guys, but from guys like Al Horford who are stay ready and are ready for this moment when guys like Jrue Holiday or Kristaps Porziņģis are out with an injury, is what is makes this team unstoppable with their depth. And not another player that played fantastic from Noah Dalzell, Sam Hauser, someone who has been a little bit quiet in some of these games, hasn't really had a breakout performance. Really tonight found his stride. Obviously 100% from the field, hit some step in middies, but not just that. 2 for 2 from 3 point range, 10 points, and battled for some big time boards in the first half. We saw Sam Hauser finish the game with 2 rebounds in tonight's game and a plus 17. So once again, playing solid on both sides of the floor for the Celtics. And then we see Jayson Tatum with his great performances as well. Patrick, 3 straight 35-point performances from coming back from this wrist injury. And we can see that 3 point shot is clearly back. And Jaylen Brown, that second half turnaround in back to back games, has really transformed for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's touch on Sam Hauser a little bit first.
Yep.
Um, we've talked about him before and how I felt like he really changed his game because he's shooting a lot more twos. And one of the bigger plays was him cutting back door instead of having that wide open three and kind of catching the Orlando defense kind of lacking a little bit. And I think that came with all the competitiveness with Baylor Shireman kind of making a little bit of a rise and he wasn't shooting the ball too well. So I think him kind of getting more confidence and getting those backdoor cuts to kind of open up the offense a little bit definitely helps out the Celtics a lot and kind of just broadens his game even more. And you have to really pay attention to him more. And that kind of brings off some defense on a lot of other guys because he's someone that you're going to have to pay attention to if he's going to be playing this well. And then if we look at Jaylen Brown, I mean, Bruce, his knee looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He, he is still getting so explosive just from seeing him with that last week of the season, just not playing games and just really not moving well laterally. We talked about it many times how worried we were, how he was going to look, and he looks fantastic. I mean, I can't say anything else other than that. He's getting to his spots. He's going up for dunks. He's not afraid to land on that knee. So he's feeling real comfortable. And Jayson Tatum, they say he doesn't show up when it matters. Look at these last 3 games, and he's not missing free throws either. What did he end at? 37 for 37, somewhere in that range. I mean, he's been absolutely amazing and can't take anything from him. The wrist injury doesn't look like it's too much of an injury. And with a couple days off, man, that's something that the Celtics needed. This game meant a lot more than just going back to Orlando and playing another game. Jrue Holiday gets to get healthy. Jaylen Brown gets to get healthy, get some extra rest. It's well needed for the Celtics all around.
I completely agree. You mentioned the Jrue Holiday injury, someone that they were missing a little bit in this series in some late game crunch scenarios defensively in that game 3 and game 4, but luckily didn't really need him in this tonight's performance. But you mentioned obviously getting that key extra rest for those guys, but Sam Hauser being unstoppable once again, getting those backdoor cuts, really freeing himself for this Celtics team and making himself once again another viable asset. And then Jaylen Brown, like you mentioned, just going absolute takeover mode. I know you were one of the people on the channel out of me, Andrew, that was a little bit more concerned about the injury. So to hear, obviously, the fact that we would both obviously see this complete turnaround is obviously fantastic for both of us, and realizing this obviously has looked a little bit slow in the first halves of the last couple of games, but in the second half, man, has just been able to bounce back. And I think another key thing, like you mentioned, getting this extra rest because he has been questionable for these games, obviously playing through a little bit pain is going to be perfect, specifically going up against either Detroit, New York. It's going to be another physical series, once again, similar to Orlando, maybe not as physical, but definitely another tough defensive team for the Celtics to run into, and they're definitely going to have some of those unstoppable defensive players and have this terrifying three-point shooting really all come together to justify another playoff push and getting really deep in this playoffs.
Yeah, and I think honestly, this was a great first round matchup for the Boston Celtics all around. Just the length of the Magic really matched up well with how the Celtics play, and I think that plays into their favor for the next series, whether it's Detroit or the Knicks, because I think that the Magic match up better in
Yep.
that way. Um, the both teams obviously have a little bit more talent, especially coming off the bench. But when it comes to just how they play, their play style, a better defensive team, I think they really went through the ringer and actually had to play hard and kind of find other ways to win. Like we said in the first half, no 3 pointers. They had to find a way to kind of stick in and stay in the game, and then kind of find that shot back when it was ready. You kind of just have to play some good basketball, some hard nosed basketball, and with those two teams, they're not going to let up. You know how Tibbs is; he's going to play all those guys. Got to learn how to play them out. And Detroit, another young, tough team. I mean, you never know what you're going to see, but this is a good sign for the Boston Celtics in that second half, and it's definitely a terrifying sight if I'm being honest.
If I'm New York, if I'm Detroit, if I'm one of those fans, if I just saw Boston go on that terrible tear from 3-point range like we just broke down, I am definitely scared going into that series. But once again, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video here where we broke down Boston Celtics. Their fantastic game this series. Shout out to Patrick from Orlando Magic Digest as well for hopping on some videos alongside Patrick and I along the journey. If you want to check those ones out, definitely go back on the channel and watch those. Patrick and I will be live for you guys tomorrow, going back on those lives for you guys, 6 p.m. Eastern time, where we'll be breaking down and looking into a little bit deeper for this next playoff preview. We don't know who it is, obviously. Could be the Pistons, could be the Knicks, but we're going to kind of analyze both of those teams and dive into what it means for the Celtics if they were going to play either of them. So if you're interested in that, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments section, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your night, and go Boston Celtics.